Shalom everyone, and today we're learning Parasha Terumah. We can find it in the book of Exodus, chapter 25, verse 1. So, in order to understand the Parasha, just the context, we are still on Mount Sinai. We are reading the story of the Exodus this is the 7th week already. And it's all about something that happened 33 centuries ago that changed our lives forever. And when you study Kabbalistic studies, the question is, first of all, what's in it for me? Which means, how does that have an effect on my own life? Otherwise, if I don't read it for the purpose of improving myself, so what do I read this text for? Why do I need this material? And what is the story for? And the fact that the story survived till today, 33 centuries later, and it is still alive in so many people's lives around the world, it is a fact that we're talking about an eternal message. So the question is, what is the message for us today? So if we are talking about the first parashot, we're about realizing we are in captivity, slavery, then the steps of getting out of captivity and slavery, and finally, Mount Sinai revelation. This is like bringing the sense of freedom to the broadest capacity, which means freedom, period, from anything, including the angel of death. This is the message we studied for so many years. And now, after Mount Sinai revelation, after it started, it's still on, which means we are still on Mount Sinai, which means when we are talking about the experience of Mount Sinai revelation, the experience of total eternity for all of those people who fled Egypt, who've been to such an enormous pain and suffering for centuries as slaves in Egypt, and now in such an abrupt transformation, 7 weeks within the Exodus, they're already experiencing what no human being experienced since the sin of Adam, which means complete redemption and freedom. And that means freedom from the limitation of the body. And that's why we read in the Zohar, Parashat Yitro, that when God started to speak, all the souls of the Israelites left their bodies and they had an out-of-body experience. Now we have to remember, having an out-of-body experience means being away from bondage, being away from the dungeon that is called the human body and the human consciousness. Because consciousness, body, thinking, it's all limited in a physical shell. And a physical shell has a problem. You know, some containers cannot withstand too much liquids, too much anything, too much when it's something too much hot, too much cold. There's a limitation, or anything of too much. There's a limitation. Same thing, a human consciousness, human understanding is very limited. We all know that there's a limit of how much we can understand about physics, about math, about, just what somebody else has to tell us about what they feel. And we have a limit of how much we can take. And now we are in a position of taking everything in, which means the moment we have this out-of-body experience, the Zohar says, we see everything, which means it's like what they say, you have a dream, and in a dream, time has a different sense totally because you're not limited to your physical body. So, I don't know if it's still updated, but I read research that said that in the dream, everything is 60 times faster, which means what you feel, sometimes we have a very vivid dreams about many, many things that happen, and we can experience 2 hours of events in 2 minutes. And dreams don't usually last more than a few minutes. So although you can feel like it was days that you experience in your dream. So whenever we are not limited to the physical body, our capacity is in a very different dimension. So we see everything. We get all the laws. Then we come back, like in a dream, and you have to translate the experience into human vocabulary. That needs a lot of details to write. And these details divide themselves, they expanded over Parashat Yitro, 10 utterances. This is the most condensed edition. Then it extended into Parashat Mishpatim, second parasha, and then Parashat Terumah, third parasha, and next week Parashat Tetzaveh, it's the fourth. So we have 4 parashot that happened on Mount Sinai. It happened in a no time because it happened outside the human limitation. However, it takes 4 parashot to write them down. Of course, that's not the whole thing. We know now, we can understand why it is said that on Mount Sinai, the Israelites received the whole Torah with both parts of it, the oral Torah and the written Torah, which means the 5 books of Moses. And it's not just the 4 parashot, Yitro, Mishpatim, Terumah, Tetzaveh, but this is like you have condensed edition, expanded edition, more expanded edition, and then there's edition, which the 5 books of Moses, that's the most extended edition. But the real thing is that there's things you could not write at that time, and that was the oral Torah, that the whole body of the Israelite nation memorized it, and for generations, what was the method of study is those discussions about what do you have, what did you receive from your teacher, father, grandfather, and so on, that bring it down along the generations. And finally, when there was a fear that is going to be destroyed, when Jewish communities all over the world were under a threat of destruction by the Roman Empire and other political havoc that happened in the about 2,000 years ago. So then there was a need to write all of these discussions in order to contain that experience of Mount Sinai. So when we read the Mishnah or the Talmud or the Zohar, all of them are part of Mount Sinai revelation. However, they were kept orally by tradition of telling the stories and discussing the understandings of every word, that every word has so many aspects and meanings and understanding. We, as the Zohar explains in Parashat Yitro, we experience that at once outside of our body. However, then to understand it with a conscious mind inside the human body, you need zillions of discussions and stories from different aspects in order to get the idea that was delivered on Mount Sinai. So Parashat Terumah is another aspect. So if Parashat Mishpatim last week was discussing the idea of reincarnation, which means all the cause and effect that happened to human beings in everything they do. You hurt somebody, this is the road you have to take in order to compensate, transform, understand, and internalize the idea of sensitivity, love, and so on. So all of that is concentrated in Parashat Mishpatim. Parashat Terumah relates to another most important part of our lives, and that is all encompassed in the word Terumah, the name of the parasha, Terumah. Now, the name of the parasha, the word Terumah, is usually translated into contribution. Why? Because the whole story is about the building of the tabernacle. And how could they build the tabernacle in the desert? You could go to Home Depot or something like this to get the materials. Every person among the Israelites had to give something they had. So together they raised enough materials to build the tabernacle. They were in the desert. So I'm reading again, chapter 25 in Exodus, verse 1. וידבר אדוני משה לאמור, and God speaks to Moses, saying, דבר בני ישראל, speak to the children of Israel, ויקחו לי תרומה, and they should take terumah, again, simple understanding, contribution. מאת כל איש אשר ידרנו בו, from every person that his heart is pushing him to give. From them, tikhu et terumati, you will take my contribution. However, the word terumah does not really mean contribution, which means it's being used in the context of contribution. But every Hebrew word is built from, most Hebrew words are built from an origin of 3 letters that are called the source, the shoresh, source. And the conjugation of these letters are basically what creates the words. You can use it as a verb, you can use it in a noun, you can use it in past tense, future tense, it's one word, but the conjugation is what creates the word. Therefore, in Hebrew, you can hear a word that you never heard before in your life, if you speak Hebrew. You can hear a word you never heard before. However, you can get what is the shoresh, the 3 letters, what is the structure of the verb or the noun, and from that you can understand the word, although you never heard the word before in your life. So it's very easy also to invent words in Hebrew in certain needs that you never had before. So the word terumah, which is a very common word, even in modern Hebrew, terumah means, as we said, contribution. But if you listen to it as an Israeli or somebody who speaks fluent Hebrew, you're looking for the shoresh. And the shoresh from the word terumah is hey, reish, mem. Hey, reish, mem, that shoresh means to raise. Maybe this is where the word to raise donations, this is where it comes from. It means to raise. What does it mean to raise? And the Zohar is teaching us terumah means tarom hey. You can divide the word terumah into 2 basically parts. One is tarom, to raise, and the other one is hey. What is the letter hey? The letter hey is in this context, is the letter that symbolizes the existence of our reality, which means if we're talking about the name of God that we discussed a lot in the beginning of the book of Shemot, it's a book of names, right? So when you're talking about the tetragrammaton, which means tetra means 4, the name of 4 letters, so this name is very powerful since this name encompasses the whole tree of life in one word. So it starts with the top of the tree of life, which is Keter, and the top of the tree of life is in the tetragrammaton. It's called Kutso Shel Yud, the thorn of the letter Yud. It's part of the letter Yud. It does not have a letter of its own because the Keter is so divine, so close to divinity, it does not have a physical letter of its own. It's just a part of the letter Yud. Now, the second is Chokhmah, and that is the letter Yud itself. Now, Chokhmah, Sefirat Chokhmah, is encompassing the whole tree of life, and therefore the letter Yud has the numerical value of 10. So you have everything in the, and that's why Yud is very small, and Yud is also the beginning of every Hebrew letter. Every Hebrew letter you draw a Yud, and then you continue to the structure of the letter you choose. So it's like the fountain for everything, the letter Yud. That's why it's Chokhmah. Everything is already there in Chokhmah. Then it expands to that second letter, which is Hey, Bina, which is also called the upper A. And Bina is like the female aspect of the upper worlds, and that's why it looks like a house. Because the letter Hey looks like the gate of a house. Now, from there, the light comes through the Vav, which looks like a pipe that brings the light down into the lower Hey, the last letter of the Tetragrammaton, the fourth letter, again, the letter Hey. And the letter Hey, the last one, is the letter that symbolizes the recipient, creation, humanity. Or in the life of the individual, my life, my body, my needs, my desires, my home, my business, my awareness, my needs, all of that in one letter, the letter Hey. So this letter Hey is very important because the Hey is the last Hey symbolizes or represents the reality, our reality. Our reality as the last stop of the evolutionary process from the endless light, high above, all the way down to the reality we can perceive, understand, cherish, work for, and so on and so on. That's our life, the letter A. So, what is this parasha about? It's about building the tabernacle. But what is the idea behind building a tabernacle? The idea is the most important idea of that we have to accept every morning as we get up, because that's the basic meaning, idea, goal, mission of every human being. And what is the idea? The idea is called Terumah, the Zohar explains to us. We have to take all those physical actions that we take daily. That means taking care of our livelihood, food, home, clothing, anything in the physical reality. Our needs, our desires, our wants, and so on. We have to take all of these and raise them to the realm of the spiritual dimension. This is the mission. This is the goal. This is the secret of the human destiny. As long as you do not understand that state of mind, that aspect of awareness, you will be a non-magical creature. You will be a beastly creature that maybe can achieve some physical goals of, let's say, food, supplies, assets, whatever. However, it will never really satisfy you, because you have to remember every human being is a composition, merkava, composition of a soul within a body. And the moment you compose together a soul within a body, you have a role, you have a goal, you have a destiny, you have a vision that you have to follow, which is how do you create the physical life, the material dimension, as a dwelling place for the soul, for the spiritual, for the divine light of God. And that means every aspect of your life, every. And if you understand it, you start the journey of completing your human destination, which is uniting the spiritual dimension, the dimension of the soul, with the physical dimension. So when we say Terumah, we mean basically in one word, encompassing the whole idea. Everything you see, you desire, you wish for, everything you can build, you have to treat it as a terumah, contribution to what? To the big effort of humanity to create a world that is dwelling place for the light of the spiritual dimension. If we miss that, and unfortunately we live today in a civilization, most of us are part of a civilization that is so materialistic that it denies completely in every aspect of human life, either it is in the school system, media, wherever you go, it denies the presence of the spiritual dimension in our life. This is like so materialistic that even it does not have even a discussion. Is there a presence of something mystical in our life? This is not even a question. In philosophical discussions in the universities, it looks like it is so scorned, looked down at. It's like if you believe in something mystical, spiritual, and any kind of the spiritual power dimension, you're being looked at as like you're out of your mind. You're not really serious. You know what? You can't be really trusted. So people who have, I'm not saying atheist. Atheist is somebody who's fighting the belief in God. I'm talking about going beyond it. You don't even call yourself an atheist because you don't think there's something to go against. Everything is just physical. What you see is what you get. And if you don't see it, it doesn't exist. And of course, there's no God. And you're like, this is like really a nonsense, something that we don't believe in that for years already. Okay? The problem is that the moment you have that realm pushed away from your life, you'll be empty, like an empty shell. Your house that you built will be an empty shell. Your body will be an empty shell. Whatever you acquire will be an empty shell. And you will always feel something is missing. So you need to get more money, more power, more whatever, more sensual experiences and and high in order to compensate for the lack, because the real thing, which is the real dimension of everything, the upper dimension, is missing from your life. And you have no idea why is it that you can't really feel a true sense of well-being, a true sense of completion, of wholeness, and you have no peace in your life. So what does it mean, Parashat Terumah? It's the Israelite nation are being told how to build a tabernacle. And when it says very clearly, because this is where it's like the hint to the whole meaning. And you can find it in verse 8 in chapter 25, Exodus. ועשו לי מקדש ושכנתי בתוכם. And they will make me a temple, and I will dwell in or within them. Which means, why do we have to build a temple, tabernacle, whatever? So the godly dimension, the divine, can dwell within us. Only when the divine dwells within each one of us, we can really achieve a sense of completion and achievement, a real, true, lasting achievement. This is the condition for the journey of humanity. And the moment humanity is denying that dimension of its life, it means being doomed for being empty, starved, busy with lies because you feel so empty and you're trying to cover up that your life mission is simply an empty shell, totally meaningless. And you have to come with a kind of philosophy. Why is it so empty? Why is it so painful? Why the void is so deep and so painful inside so many people in our generation? So we don't have to read this parasha in order to build another tabernacle. You know what? Even let's say the Messiah, Mashiach, is coming today, and all the nations achieve total peace and harmony the way it's been described in the prophets. And the third temple is being built in Jerusalem. Would it be built according to the orders, instructions in Parasha Terumah? No. The instructions are for the portable temple that was built in the desert. And the message is that basically every human's life is the portable temple that we each build for ourselves. And we carry it with us wherever we go. So every place that becomes our home, our business, whatever you call it, your reality, you have to apply those rules of Parashat Terumah, which means you have to raise the hay. How do you raise the hay? How do you raise your consciousness when you're eating, when you're building a home, when you just buying something for your house? How do you raise the hay? How do you make it from just a mundane, simple, physical object into a divine thing? This is exactly what happened in this Parasha Terumah. That basically, excuse me, they're basically taking 13 ingredients that are being mentioned over here. וזאת התרומה שתיקחו מאיתם, verse 3. And this is the contribution, the terumah that you take. זהב וכסף ונחושת, gold, silver and copper, ותכלת ואגמן ותולעת שני ושש ועיזים. And now there are 5 kinds of cloth, any kind of materials that are made from different kinds of fibers, ואורות אלים מאודמים ואורות חשים, and 2 kinds of skins, ועצי שיטים and acacia wood, שמן למאור, oil for the light, בשמים לשמן המשחה, spices for the ointment, ולקטור את הסמים, and for the incense. אבני שוהם, ואבני מילואים לאפוד ולחושן, and also precious stones for the breastplate of the Kohen and the ephod. All of that, 13 different materials. Why 13? And here we come to the great secret. They are physical objects. We are talking about physical gold and physical silver and physical copper, and all kinds of other materials are really, truly physical central. However, there are 13 of them. And why 13? The number 13 is very magical. The number 13, first of all, in Hebrew, we know that in the biblical sense, the number 12 is a symbol for our world. You have 4 seasons. Each season is divided into 3 signs or 3 months. You have altogether 12. 12 is the dimension of time, 12 months. Also, the day is divided to day and night, 12 hours each. Again, 12. You have 12 also in today's modern physics. We know that matter is made of basically 12 particles, okay? 6 leptons, 6 quarks, 12. Each one is divided also to 3 and 3, like, again, and then that gives you the 3 and 3. It gives you 2 triangles, gives you the Star of David, which is basically a formula of spiritual forces and also physical forces. It's not a national symbol, okay? Maybe it became only the last few centuries. Now, again, so now what is number 13? If 12 is nature, 13 is one above nature. 13 is also about love. And here, if we go and be inspired by the teachings of Rabbi Ashlag, the founder of the modern Kabbalah movement, and we can understand that when we are talking about love, there are 2 complete ideas about the idea of love, and they complete each other. Okay, we'll start with a simple one, in which Rabbi Ashlag is asking, how come we have 2 versions of one story that are kind of pillar? This story is a pillar of Jewish theology. And the story has 2 versions, one with Hillel the elder. We're talking about 1st century BC. And the other one is Rabbi Akiva, which is 1st, 2nd century CE. And the story is about somebody who wanted to tell what is the most important precept in the whole Torah. So one version said, can you teach me the whole Torah standing 1 foot? Another one said, ask the question, it's like, what is the main general rule that includes the whole Torah in 1 sentence? And both came with the idea, Hillel the Elder and Rabbi Akiva, almost 2 centuries later, saying, love others as you love yourself. And then Rabbi Ashlag is asking the question, isn't the whole Torah just about loving God? Why loving other people? It's impossible to really love other people. Why? Because people are very, what can we say? People are very hard to be loved. You can't trust them. They're very good in disappointing, not because they want to. Most people don't want to disappoint others, but they simply can't not to. We're humans. We have so many limitations. We expect from others too much, and then, and of course, we get disappointed too much. And if we talk about freedom, and freedom from the angel of death, most of the death we experience daily is because of being disappointed by other people, being hurt by other people. And as we said, we're very good at it. And that means that how can you really love people unconditionally when they behave in such a horrible way? Loving other people is almost impossible this way. And Rabbi Ashlag is saying, but other people, they're there around us. Why can't we be, let's say, created as individuals that we are not dependent on other people? And when we talk about the human race, more than any species on Earth, we are dependent on other humans. We simply can't survive without it. I don't know, that's maybe some species, they really depend on each other, like ants. I don't think that ants can live without the community, but not for long, very shortly. But still, we are very much dependent on other humans. And if we try to live alone, off the grid, somewhere in the wild nature, we'll pay heavily for that. It will be very, very uncomfortable. We have to have very, very big scale of skills in order to be able to survive by ourselves in the wilderness. So why we were created so dependent on others, and therefore it's our Achilles heel. We get hurt so much because we're dependent physically and emotionally in others. And that's the reason that Rabbi Ashlag says, if those great sages will say, love God as you love yourself, or love God with all your might. You can find it in Parashat Vayetchanan, in the Shema Yisrael, right, in the book of Deuteronomy. But this is how can you love someone you can't see, you can't really hear, maybe sometimes, very rarely, how can you love someone you don't know about anything? So first of all, you have to learn to love someone else that is not you. And that's why we're so dependent on other people. And more than that, whatever we need, most of it, we need it from other people. It's like God didn't give all his gifts evenly to humans. Usually whatever you really need, other people have it, and you need to be nice to them in order to get it from them. So you have to pay them, you have to have a nice relationship, whatever. It's all about learning because we are selfish. Getting out of ourselves is because it's our agenda, it's our need. Because it has a very demanding feedback. So when we learn to be there for others, we learn to get out of ourselves. And then when we get out of ourselves, we can meet the divine. So meeting the divine means getting out of yourself. What is ourselves, our nature, the way we are born? The Torah says very clearly in Parashat Bereshit, Ki yetzer lev ha'adam ra minurav. The inclination of a human heart is evil from childhood. We were born selfish, okay? You never meet an altruistic baby. The moment they are born, they focus only about themselves. If they were not so cute, it won't be so easy to take care of them. They just want it now, immediately, no negotiations. Okay, otherwise, they will be screaming, and so you can't tolerate that. So you have to serve them. Till they start to understand negotiation, it's a terrible tools. Why it's so terrible? Because till now, there was no negotiation. They got exactly what they wanted. Now, you start to negotiate. They rebel against it, but finally, they have to accept it. You're not alone, and you need to consider other people's emotions, desires, and needs, and you have to pay for whatever you want to receive. So, everything we do because of this is managed by our selfish needs. Getting out of that box, okay? So basically, How many sides does a box have? Count. Take a cube, and you have four lines. How do you draw a cube, a box? You need 12 lines. That's a 12. Getting out of that, that's number 13. 13 is one above me, myself, and I. So that's 13 ingredients in the building of the tabernacle. But this is also the secret of another word in Hebrew, which is called ahava, love. And here we have a magical explanation of the Zohar. So we think that love between two human beings, let's say husband and wife, male and female, is the most majestic, beautiful thing in the universe. No, it's not. It's just a tool, a vehicle to reach the real one. And what is the real one? So we're going to verse 371 in the book of, in the Zohar, Parasha Terumah, in the Sulam commentary. And it says as follows, דבר אחר ישקני מנשיקות פיו. This is the ישקני מנשיקות פיו. This is in the Song of Songs, chapter 1. He will kiss me with the kisses of his mouth. מייקה חמה שלמה מלכה, דיור העיל מילי דרחימו בין אלמה הילאה לאלמה תתה. ושירותה דתושבחתה, דרחימו דעיל בינהו. ישקני איהו אלההו כמה והחיו. דלית רחימו דדבקות דרוחה ברוחה, בר נשיקה, נשיקה בפומה. דהי מבואה דרוחה ומפקנו דילי. וחד נשכין דלדה מדבקן רוחין אלין באילן. ואב אחד וכדן איהו רחים מוחד. So according to what we said, the love between a husband and wife is extremely divine and important. When it's the love that is coming from the place of loving others as you love yourself. If you do it from that place, this awareness, which means if you love your spouse, because it's the highest level, says Rabbi Isaac Loya, the Arizal, the highest level of love others, you love yourself. Why? Because loving your spouse is the most demanding kind of love. This is the love that the feedback mechanism is the tightest. It's so tight that if you don't really follow it, you mess up very often. It's going to be very painful. So when you have this like intention and commitment and desire to do it as a mitzvah, I don't love my spouse because my spouse is lovable. I love my spouse because this is the person that the Creator made available for me to train myself to learn what is love. And that takes a lifetime. But I don't love my wife so much. We're just married a few months. In the beginning, there was some, but now it's time. Of course, learning how to love, it takes a lifetime. It's a devotion, and it's a sacrifice. It's the offerings you bring. And more than that, it is the ability to create this journey, getting out of me and finding the us. This is the most important journey that any human being should take. However, this is just the beginning of the journey, because when you learn to love another human being like that, you realize the story is much broader. Because the same way there's a love between male and female, there is a love between men and female in the bigger picture, which is the male is the world of the Creator, the world of the divine creation, that's part of the creation. and the physical dimension of the creation, now, which is the female aspect. So when we learn how to create real, genuine, authentic love, the next stage will be to learn that everything is immersed in that love, which means whatever I do it out of love to the divine. And by doing that, I'm raising my universe, Terumah. When I use my money to give charity, why? Not because they're miserable, just because I know when I give, I make, as the Kabbalists explain, when I give my money, it belongs to me legally. Nobody can force me to give it away. Still, I give it to poor people, to people in need, to all kinds of community needs and so on, in order to make the world better. What am I doing? I have to have the consciousness that the same way that I'm giving what is mine, I'm creating a flow that will make the light of the Creator flow from above and share with humanity, with reality that is the poor person. So Rabbi Isaac Luria is explaining how you do it. When you give the money, you think that the money, which is the source of the power, because money you can buy with that food, you can buy with that clothes, you can buy with that housing. There's so many things you can do with, so many kinds of food, right? So many kinds of housing and clothing. There's so many things you can buy education with money. Everything is concentrated like the letter Yud, as we explained before, in the name of God. It's all concentrated. All Sefirot are concentrated in one point. That's the money, the letter Yud. You're holding the money in your hand, in your right hand. 5 fingers, 5 is the letter A. The letter A is 5. Okay? Now, the arm looks like a Vav. And the hand of the recipient is also 5 fingers. Hey, you have Yud and Hey, Vav and A. So when you give a contribution, you unite by doing it in the physical aspect. You physically give money, but with your consciousness that by doing that, it's like you're saying to God, I don't have to give. It's not a must. It's my money legally. I earned it. I paid my taxes, whatever. And I'm still going out of my way and give it to somebody in need. The same way I do that, I meditate, concentrate, contemplate that God, the Creator, will give charity, His light, to this poor reality that needs His light. So what did I do when I made a contribution? I raised myself. I raised my reality because I used my own physical money that I made, my own physical efforts to earn, and I give it for a goal that is beyond the physical reality. Yeah, other people are going to eat, but this is not the goal. The goal is that when you give to the poor, you force the upper world to give to the lower world. So, and that brings us to what we just read in the Zohar. So what does it mean? He will kiss me from the kisses of his mouth. What did King Solomon see that he brought those words of love from the Song of Songs? And the Song of Songs, you can read this book as a love affair between a male and a female. Very, very romantic. But the Torah is not this kind of a document. The purpose is, as we said, the real love between a male and female must be translated, and that's a goal, it's a stage, into the love, as the Zohar said, that he brought the words of love between the upper world, the spiritual dimension, which is called Zeir Anpin, which means the spiritual dimension above our dimension, and then the lower world, which is our physical reality, which is Sfirat Malchut. And the beginning of the phrases and love that King Solomon is speaking about is the kiss. And he asks, why a kiss? Why starting that with a kiss? But we learned, and this is the way it is, that the real love, of real attachment between two lovers, the strongest dimension of it is a kiss. Because the love of attachment, of connection, spirit to spirit, it's a kiss with a mouth to mouth. Why? Because the mouth is where the spirit, the wind, is coming out. And when people kiss each other, the spirits connect to each other, and it's like they become one. And then it's called one love. So remember, we're speaking about a couple of human beings, but we speak at the same time about the upper world and the lower world. How does that happen? So the Zohar continues. Let's just make it a little bit shorter. Okay, verse 375. In the word love in Hebrew, there are also, like in English, 4 letters. And these 4 letters are the letters Aleph, Hey, Bet, Hey. Why? Because the spirit of the upper world, the spiritual dimension, is Aleph. Aleph is most like, that's a letter for Or, light. First letter of the alphabet. רוח המלכות הנכלל בזעיר אנפין הוא ה'. And the spirit of Malchut that is included within the Zeir Anpin is the letter Hey. Ruach Malchut, the spirit of Malchut itself, is also Hey. And the spirit of Zeir Anpin included with Malchut is Bet. And the fruit of their connection is called Ahava. So there are 4 letters, and I'll explain. When we are talking about when we're talking about the spiritual world, the spiritual world, it's like what comes from above. It's the letter Aleph, or light. And there are many other aspects of the letter Aleph. The letter Aleph, okay? So when 2 people kiss with real, true love, the winds of their breath connects together. The spirits connect together. So the male, in that example, is the letter Aleph. The female is the letter Hey. When the male connects to the female with love, he gets her entity, her consciousness, her idea of, and he connects to it. So now he carries to him and the way he is connected to his beloved. So him is the letter Aleph, his beloved with him is the letter Hey. Okay? Now, the Malchut itself is Hey. Malchut connecting to Zeranpin is getting also another aspect of Zeranpin, of the male. So now you have a female and a male within the female. It's a Hey and a Bet. So in the male, we'll have when two join together, when two people love each other. Real love to each other means I do not try to eliminate you and to make you an extension of me. This is obsessive love, and it's not love. This is obsession. This is coercion. This is oppression. When you try to make the person you love lose all his own original traits and make him your extension. This is totally not right, because you love others in order to gain them and not to make them you. So how do we see it again? Your love is Aleph. Now let's say you're the male, so it's Aleph. What you gain from your beloved is the Hey. So now you Aleph and Hey. What the other side is Hey, and what the other side, the other person gains for me is Bet. So now it's Bet Hey. Together, the fruit of both becoming one is Aleph Hey Bet Hey, which is Ahava, love. So what is love about? Love is about not destroying the other side, but gaining an additional aspect from the other side. So now I am who I am, but I've added another consciousness, which is the me that is affected, fertilized by the you. The same thing happens to you. You have you, and you have the you that has grown up and fertilized by me. Together you have four different spirits, four different forces, like Youdkevitch, like Aleph Hey, Bet Hey. And this is an amazing explanation for what love is about. And again, Ahava is a number 13. You have to get out of your box, out of your limitations, to be able not to be afraid of that aspect of opening yourself to somebody else and embrace the addition that you have become. You have become you, and the you that is influenced by the him or her. So that's exactly what love is about. So Parasha Terumah is to learn that all what we do, either with relationships, it's all about the love, as King Solomon is saying. You train doing it with your spouse, with, in a way, your friends. But the real goal is that whatever you do for the Creator, it's like you build a home, you build a life, you maintain your body. It's all every time you give, you share, you create love, you do something for the purpose of illumination. You're basically creating a kiss with the upper world. And then a new entity is being generated, a new fruit, the fruit of your love. It's a love between this physical universe and the upper spiritual universe. So every time we use our money to help other people, we use our time to help other people, we use our assets to help other people, we basically realize that I don't have anything just because I worked for it. Whatever I'm generating in my life must also be used for improving this world, for serving the great purpose of uniting humanity, reality, with the upper spiritual world, using it as a tool to reveal love, light, spirituality, exaltation, because what do you need money, clothes, food for, if not to become a vessel to bring in divine love and light? So you're not supposed, according to that, to be poor and have nothing and give everything to others. No, you have to give charity to others, but the most you have to live with yourself so you can build this kind of tabernacle in every aspect of your physical life. And that's why you study the Zohar, in order to train your mind and your heart to find the way how to do it in every action. When you eat, when you trade, when you make business, when you build, when you create. Let's say you're an artist, you're any kind of, you do anything. Everything you do must be looked at. This is my Terumah. I'm building a physical structure by my words and my actions to become a dwelling for the light of the Creator. If you read, I think when you read Isaiah chapter 11, when it speaks about the days of the Mashiach, and it speaks the spirit of the Messiah, and it speaks about that spirit that when this spirit comes in, there is an awareness of spirituality that engulfs the whole planet, like water cover the sea. This is exactly what we're talking about. When humanity reaches that state of awareness, this is the only way we can experience world real peace. Remember, the word peace is not really the word, because the word they use is shalom. Shalom does not mean peace. Shalom is coming from the word letters Shin Lamed Mem. Shin Lamed Mem means complete, a whole. What does it mean, a whole? When we see everything we do, make, say, that it's not a whole unless the divine fills it up, and we create a kiss between the physical and the divine, and they are becoming a whole. And that has to be achieved by humans seeing each one as, again, an opportunity to create love and completion. Not just peace, oh, we don't fight with each other. No, this is not the peace the prophets are talking about. They're talking about shalom. Shalom is about, in Hebrew, you have the word peace in Hebrew. The letters Pei Yud Samech in Hebrew, peace. They mean not to fight. The word shalom means we're not complete without each other. We, humans, with each other and with the divine presence. So with that, we can conclude today understanding that consciousness is a must-have towards real complete life, real achievement of anyone's vision. Because if that vision that you build is not containing this awareness we spoke about, this vision is false. It will be sooner or later be revealed as incompetent to achieve true fulfillment. So hopefully we continue to learn, and the learning is all along studying the Torah, how to be those people that can bring peace, shalom, real shalom to the world, shalom between ourselves and the heavens and with each other. Thank you so much.